Well, good evening and welcome to our July combined work session and board meeting. All the board members had agreed that we would do a combined since we're working around the July 4th holiday. Hope everybody had a nice one, by the way. And so I did want to just take a few minutes to say, I don't think we say thank you enough to all the folks that do so much good work for our students, and I know too that this is a very busy time for central office and principals, administrators, getting things ready, closing out one year and beginning another one. So I just want to say thank you to you folks, and I can't overlook my board members who have dedicated themselves and made our children top priority. So to Mr. Clarence and Ms. Anglin, and also to Mr. Cronick, we appreciate your dedication and your willingness to serve. And you may notice that Mr. Clancy is not with us right now, but he plans to join us. He is at a Jackson County Water Authority board meeting, so he should be here in a little while. And we will have our work session first, and then we'll take a short break, and then we'll come back to have our board meeting. So since we've got a busy agenda, we'll turn it over. Well, do we need to go ahead and approve this agenda?
I believe so.
Okay, all right. Do we have any changes or additions to the agenda tonight? Okay, all right. Do I have a motion that we approve our agenda? Okay, and a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All righty. Okay, we'll turn it over to you, Dr. Howard.
All right, thank you very much. I want to second Ms. Wheeler's thank yous to all of the folks in this room. It has been a very busy summer. It's been fast years, but we've had a great summer. And I'm going to say some great announcements for Todd in terms of a great day we had yesterday with teaching and learning, but our operations team's been working really hard as well. And so I'd like to start by letting you know that one of the big items our operations team's been working on is preparing for the construction of a new high school and the renovations of East Jackson Middle School and planning for the Empower Center, and all of that takes money. And our community was gracious enough to support the bond referendum. So we have taken the charge and the next steps, and it has been a great week. And so I'd like to introduce the folks that we are indebted to forever with their leadership with this, and that's Mr. Bryce Holcomb and Brian Seaton with Citigroup. So we're going to ask you all to update the board on our latest progress.
We sure will. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be with you, and we appreciate you letting us meet with you tonight and certainly present the results of yesterday's what we call bond pricing. And before Brian reviews those results, I wanted to just really update the board on what we've done. You know, since we last met with you about 5 to 6 weeks ago, we mentioned to you about 5 to 6 weeks ago how good market conditions are in the marketplace right now. You obviously borrow on a tax exempt, basis, and what you have in the marketplace right now is low supply with very, very high demand, and that really benefited you yesterday as we expected that it would. One of the things that you always have to do whenever you enter the bond market is you have to go out and renew your bond ratings, basically have those looked at again by the rating services, and major rating services of Moody's and Standard & Poor's. And bond rating is a lot like we as individuals might have to have like a credit score to get a loan, that kind of thing. And so it's a measure of the school board's credit scores, so to speak. And just to replay the tapes a little bit, simply because I know we have 3 new board members. You've had underlying ratings before. You got ratings back in 2005 when you sold the new money bonds, to build a new high school. And then back in 2012, we refunded those bonds, refinanced those bonds to lower rates, and you got ratings. And those ratings at the time, Moody's awarded a AA3, S&P awarded a single A- rating. And like a lot of school systems, back in early 15, the rating services will do what they call rating surveillance on existing ratings. And so they reviewed the ratings, and like a lot of systems that Brian and I worked with, y'all were downgraded by Moody's and S&P then, simply because y'all had gone through a very, very tough recession that we're all very, very aware of. And so that was not unusual at all. But the board and the management team made a decision 4.5 years ago. Hey, we're gonna raise our ratings, and we're gonna dig in and do what needs to be done. And boy, did you ever. Y'all are to be extremely applauded for what you did. You raised your reserves. Local economy's been just awesome. You know, the demographics are growing again, doing very well in that area. And when you get a rating, they really do look under the hood thoroughly. They're gonna look at your local economy, they're gonna look at demographics, they're gonna look at your reserve levels, how you budget, how much debt you have. They're gonna look at the management team, both the board as well as the management team of the school board. So they really do look under the hood. And bottom line is, we went for ratings, and both rating services upgraded your ratings. You're now back up to a AA3 from Moody's, which is an outstanding rating. That's only 3 notches below the very highest rating you can get, which is AAA. And then Standard & Poor's raised their rating as well to A+, which is only 4 notches below the very highest rating you can get. Now, the other thing we did, as we have done on all of your borrowings since 05, is the state of Georgia offers a state aid rating intercept program. And that rating will give you an enhanced rating. Any school board in the state is allowed to use that. And if you really apply and you get the highest ratings, which you did, you also get a AA1 rating from Moody's and a AA+ rating from Standard & Poor's, which is only 1 notch below the highest rating you can get. Now you may say, well, how do the bond investors look at that after the problems that a lot of school boards had and a lot of cities and counties had? They're going to primarily focus on that underlying rating, and those again were AA3 by Moody's and single A+ by S&P. And I can't say enough about how well your management team did on both the rating calls, along with John Scott. He was immensely helpful. We just could not have had better support. You as a board would have been extremely proud of your management team. They really prepared and just did a dynamite job representing you. And in large part, that's the reason you got the rating upgrades, is that this has been a 4 to 4.5 year process, and it really paid off with these ratings. And as a result of these very good underlying ratings, Ryan will share with you some great results that you got in the market yesterday. The other thing I would mention to you is we want to help you continue to raise that rating if we can. Y'all are a growing school system. You'll be back in the bond market, maybe not in the next year or two, but maybe the next 3 to 4 years. And we want to help you raise that rating higher, because obviously the higher rating you get, the lower you get to borrow when you are in the debt market. The last thing I just wanted to say is that Brian's got some great news to share with you. Y'all, while you have the AA3 underlying rating from Moody's, single A plus, yesterday when you went in the marketplace, we feel like you ended up getting rates and yields that were equivalent, to be rated, really having a AAA rating. And that's a tribute to how good market conditions are, somewhat what we did yesterday, and certainly your good name in the marketplace. And so with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Brian to review those results.
If you look at page 2 of the book we just handed out, when we sell bonds, it's not just a one-day process. We market the bonds, we call investors for about a week and a half leading up to the bond sale, and we say, hey, look, we have the best bond you're going to see all year coming to market on, what was Wednesday. You should really take a look at them. And we kind of gauge feedback from there. The day before the pricing, if you look here on this page, the pre-marketing section, what we did was we sort of unofficially presented some interest rates to the market just to kind of gauge feedback, right? So every deal we prices off of an indice, and that's MMD. That's the pristine sort of benchmark in the tax-exempt market. So when we presented on Tuesday to the market, we presented the spreads to MMD that you see under the pre-marketing section, MMD spread. They range from 20 to 25 basis points. The feedback we got from investors that day was sort of in the middle, lukewarm, you know, hey, we like these levels, but, you know, talk to us tomorrow, we'll see how we do, right? So what we did was, we kept those levels the same from Tuesday, and we brought them to Wednesday, and we presented the coupons, yields, and the spreads that you see under the pre-pricing section. We gave investors about 2 hours to look at the yields and give them a chance to put in orders, and boy did they ever. If you look at the subscription column, you'll see that for every single maturity of this financing, they were about 8 times subscribed, if not over. In all, we had about 534 million of orders on this bond sale, which means we could have sold 10 times this amount to investors that day.
Wow.
Again, that's really a tribute to what Bryce was saying about the rating upgrade. It's a tribute to the way this whole system's run, and it's just a tribute to how you guys are perceived by the municipal market. It's very, very strong name. What that meant was, with so many investors submitting orders on this on this bond issuance, we were able to actually lower those spreads to the benchmark, spreads to MMD. And they dropped anywhere from 8 basis points to 10 basis points, which is just an outstanding result. When we sold the bonds, we sold them with all 5% coupons in order to maximize the construction proceeds. If you look at the gray bar down at the bottom, with the rates and yields that we initially presented to the market, we were anticipating a project fund deposit, construction fund deposit, about $58.8 million. After the adjustments that we made, reducing interest rates down 8 to 10 basis points, that generated an additional about $600,000 for a total of $59.3 million in project funds. Just an outstanding result. Bryce and I were really blown away by it. If you turn the page and kind of look at these results a little bit more, you'll see that we've highlighted in blue, kind of on the left side of the page, the project fund deposit of about $59.3 million. With that doesn't include any interest earnings. With interest earnings, the project fund deposit we believe will be north of $60 million, and those are all dollars that can be put towards capital projects. So just really an outstanding result. The all-in total interest cost, factoring in, you know, the interest rates and all issuance costs associated with the transaction, is at 2.08%. Just fantastic numbers. Sort of on the right-hand side, the debt service will be paid from the capitalized interest account until March 1 of 22. After March 1 of 22, both SPLOST and GEO Millage will begin to pay the debt service. And down below, we've included an aggregate debt service picture for both the Series 2012 debt service as well as the Series 2019 bonds that we just issued, or just priced yesterday. Turning the page, just to give you a flavor for who were the investors that participated in your transaction. It's honestly, this is a who's who of our market: Northern Trust, Eaton Vance, even Susquehanna Investments. If you look at their order total, $52,660,000, they put in an order for the entire bond transaction. So if no other investor would have showed up yesterday, Northern Trust would have bought the whole thing. Just really outstanding. It really is. Eaton Vance, number 2 on that list, same thing, $52,660,000. They put in an order for the entire transaction. Susquehanna Investments, same thing, $52,660,000. And you can see there's other just outstanding orders on this page. Really a who's who. Really speaks to, again, the underlying credit ratings, how the district is operated, and the name you have in the market. Just a fantastic result that both Bryce and I are very happy with.
Great news. Thank you very much.
The last thing I would just add is that we did include, really for the board, if they wish to look at it at a later time, both the Moody's report and the Standard & Poor's report. If you guys want to read about it yourselves, it's all very, very good news. You'll enjoy that, I think. And then that's all we've got. Does the board or the management team have any questions of us? We'd be happy to answer.
I don't know that I've got any questions, but thank you very much.
Oh, listen, thank
Very
you.
exciting for us.
It was a pleasure.
Yes.
Y'all are always a pleasure to work with,
Yeah.
and we're certainly grateful to have had the opportunity. Thank
Yeah.
you for the
Well,
opportunity.
We appreciate y'all representing us so well and taking care of us
You're most welcome.
so much.
Most welcome.
Bryce, I think it's important from the management team's perspective that our board knows, through this entire process, quite frankly, it was new to me. I was employed here, but I wasn't in this position when we did the last bond, that this team was exceptional. They really, really did a fine job of coaching us through and preparing, and I think it was a great team effort, so thank you, Bryce and Brian.
Well, thank you,
We
Dr.
had
Howard.
folks visit from New York and help us through the whole process, so they've been very attentive. So this is a good yield, and we're very excited about what we're gonna be able to do with that.
We are too, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
And when, once it's appropriate, if the board is happy with this, we would just ask you to adopt the supplemental bond resolution for the series, 2019 bonds, which will then allow you to also sign the purchase agreement. The purchase agreement is where Citigroup buys the bonds from you at the rates and yields that Brian reviewed with you, so that your rates and yields are locked in regardless of what happens.
Yeah.
Really until the closing date. And we plan to close on July the 24th, and we'll just wire the money in that morning, and we'll work up a closing memo and do all that good stuff. We'll get ready for that. So, we're looking forward to that date, and, just very, very happy with these results.
Great,
So
great.
thank you very much.
Thank you both.
You're most welcome.
So, Ms. Wheeler, I will ask truly for guidance from Brian and Bryce on this. We do have an action item, if you'll notice, it's our first action item to, approval of a supplemental bond resolution and the purchase agreement. I believe that has to be validated by you all need, do we need to do that before you leave, or is that something, would that be
Yes.
helpful? That's
Yes,
what I
if you
thought.
would, that'd be great.
That's
Yeah,
what
we
I
can do
thought.
that.
So,
We can do
we
that.
have the official seal, if it is a possibility, instead of that being a consent agenda item, it might be
Okay.
helpful to them that we could go ahead and take action on that as a single
Yeah,
item.
yeah,
So
I
that
think-
they can sign and go, and not have to
Absolutely.
wait till then.
Okay, all right. Well, is everybody in agreement? I'm assuming that you are, for us to go ahead and approve the first item there for the supplemental bond resolution purchase agreement. Okay, I'll need a motion that we accept that.
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, very good. We're in good shape. Thanks.
All right, and did you bring that, or do you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I've got that, but I'll be happy to hang around if you want me to hang around. It's no problem.
Well, it's gonna be a couple hours, I don't.
Yeah.
think-
You may not wanna hang around. Yeah.
Trying to help you out here, Bryce.
This is, you can sign over each tab there.
All right, so,
That's just the clear set.
okay.
Do I have something I need to say, sign off? Okay,
No worries.
And then under the red tab.
okay,
Just sign all those red tabs.
alrighty,
Some of this is purchase agreement, some of it's supplemental.
okay.
They're all approved under the supplemental.
I'm not sure it'll be a couple hours, I haven't even scared.
Hey, it very well may be. We've been known to do that before, haven't
I
we?
understand y'all work hard. A lot of the city today. Yes, ma'am. I understand.
These need to seal.
Okay, there's those three. Alrighty, absolutely, no problem, thank you.
Just three of those. and
Okay.
they're also signed.
Okay, alrighty. That's right. Oh, well, shoot, I wrote right on top of that, let me. Okay. Uh-huh. Make sure I don't, I'll try to not go over that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
There's no rush on. Because the seals are never easy. One of those, I use that often.
It's sort of, yeah, it's.
Sometimes these little WD-40.
It's working. Stress balls on your face.
Alrighty, I think that's got it, alright.
I'll give you the switch, I'll give you those on to look at those.
Make it a little bit easier.
I
Well,
don't know if we've ever had that kind of interview with our bond
I
sales.
agree. It's the best sale you've had.
Yeah,
We had the pleasure of working with you.
Yeah.
Easily the lowest.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, yeah.
You all deserve it. You work very, very hard.
We've got a great team, we sure do, very blessed.
there we go. Since we have a little time here, I think we should share kind of what our deal was with Mr. Gilbert. It was kind of inspiring. We had a competitive moment there. Mr. Gilbert is a Georgia Tech fan, and we said if we get it to a certain level, he's going to wear. He wore a Georgia hat. He wore a University of Georgia hat yesterday.
Feel better already, don't you?
Excuse me. Go dogs.
That didn't hurt too bad. That didn't
Do you
hurt too
check me?
bad.
Make sure you have everything before you leave, just in case. Thank you so much.
Have a day like we had.
That's right, yeah, absolutely.
Ooh-wee. Does.
Dr. Howard, did you
Yes.
mention to them that we actually got to watch?
No, I
the
didn't.
sale,
Tell.
And it was
Oh, did you?
59%.
It was-
sold in the first 7 minutes.
I was going to say it was gone in the
Yeah.
first 10 minutes.
Gracious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in 15 minutes that it was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow,
Yeah, it was amazing.
exciting, very exciting.
Did that get all of them?
That's it. Thank y'all so much.
Purchase it.
All right, thank you.
Purchase it. Okay. All good. All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
Thank you.
your time.
Thank y'all so much. Be safe in your travels, and we'll be in touch soon.
You guys have a good evening.
Thank you so much. You too. Thank you very much. I should have thought to put that as an action item earlier, but I appreciate you allowing us to do that. That would have been a long day for them. They've already had a long day.
I was gonna say, they've
I don't know when they flew in, last night or this morning, because they were in New York yesterday. All right, so thank you very much. That was good news. That made for a very busy week. We had multiple conference calls, but it ended up with a great outcome, and I think it's going to help us tremendously be able to do what we need to do all over the school district, so it's great. The next item there is just a quick reminder. Amanda has done an amazing job to make sure that we have an overview of the board training for the whole year. We did make one change based on your feedback. The October work session that we had planned fell kind of in the middle of Perry and a lot of things going on for lots of people, so we were able, and this is probably one of the things I'm most excited about, Kevin Poe and I worked together with the Carl Vincent Leadership, and they are going to come and facilitate a planning. Actually, we're going to go to the University of Georgia, and they're going to reserve a room for us. So all of the Board of Commissioners and our Board of Education will participate in a training that will count for board credit for both, but it will be focused on navigating growth and preparing in partnership. So that will be September the 30th and October the 1st, and so that we've revised that board training schedule to include that. So that's one of those things we can print it off for you again, or you can just have that saved on your calendar. That's just an update. And then, of course, just a couple of meetings reminders. We do have a tentative meeting. That is just in case we have a need for additional personnel. Dr. Blankenship is going to update us on some of our personnel and enrollment growth, and you don't have to drive around Jackson County very long to see that we're growing, and we all know that, so we want to be prepared just in case. And then, of course, our work session will be here on August the 8th. We will have had our first few days of school and be able to give you an update there, and then our first board meeting for the academic school year will be August 12th at South Jackson. And then, of course, as I mentioned there. And just for your information, as you know, you all approved, and we're grateful for it, this past year's strategic waiver amendment, and all I've attached there for your review is the state board approval of that. So it's finalized and been submitted, so that's for your reference, something we keep on file. And periodically this year, we will make sure that we remind you of the things that we've waived. And as a matter of fact, it might come up today when Dr. Blankenship is talking about certification as well as some of our class sizes and maximizing opportunities there. So we've been approved and we're in compliance with everything at this point. So we'll look forward to that. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Nicholson to give us some updates from leadership and performance.
Certainly. So yesterday was an incredibly long but successful day. We had the the teaching and learning leadership retreat. We had about 120 folks from our 10 schools. And we felt good about it, but the survey data that's come back is really affirms that it was a successful day, but won't go through the whole day, but I just want you to know that we took our advanced ed feedback. And if you remember the guidance from that, we got a lot of praise, and there were 2 areas where they said, you're doing some really solid work in this area, but here's some areas that are aspects of it that we would love for you to explore further. And one of those was that we embrace the whole child, but what do we have to formalize that? I mean, it's certainly part of our culture, but what have we put in place and how are we measuring it? And I believe at previous board meetings I've shared with you that we took one of the goals from the strategic plan that says ensure every child has an adult who serves as a graduation coach. And we've expanded that to every child has an adult who serves as a mentor, advocate, and graduation coach. And that came through our design thinking work, where our students said the number one thing that made the difference in their educational experience was relationships. To know that they have an adult who cares about them, that they can come to for anything. And we see that every month at the board meetings when you have these amazing kids stand up there telling their story, but then they turn around and they talk about why they chose that teacher of the month. So we started last year. Some of our schools have tribes, some of them have the conquest of the realms. We have teachers as advisors, a whole host of different ways that we've gone about and allowed our schools to just figure out what makes the most sense for their school. And then we engaged in some vertical conversations so that high school could talk to middle school and middle school to elementary. So it'd be really wonderful if kids could come to us, and it's not content specific. It was things like organizational skills or knowledge of our CTA pathways or the ability to have some soft skills. And so we spent a good bit of time identifying what the next steps are for what we call our student advocacy plan. And again, that comes from advanced ed, but we'd already started that work, which was right on target with where the advanced ed said that we needed to be. And we also spent some time in Canvas. I can't wait to showcase, not tonight, there's a lot on the agenda, a night when we can maybe emphasize some of the instructional work that's taking place, but all of our curriculum materials from K through 8, science and literacy, are in Canvas courses. We unveiled those. They're more robust than anything we've ever had in the school system, at least to my knowledge of curriculum resources. We have teachers that are building courses out in Canvas, and we had elementary, middle, and high school folks that showcased. And none of this is to replace a human being. It just allows a teacher that has, if they do have slightly more students in their classroom than they would prefer, you can have some of the students on Canvas. They can be self-paced, they can be collaborating, and the teacher can kind of reduce that ratio of how many students they're working with at that point in time, but they can still see what's going on with the other group. We did our whole retreat in Canvas too, so everybody spent all day. We used discussion features and assignments. So it was a very powerful day, very, very powerful morning. And then our theme is, we go back to the strategic plan all the time. So the quality academic experience, preparing students for the future, and the personalizing of learning. We then took our survey data, we took advanced ed data, we talked to all of our building leaders and said, what is it that you most need time working on during the retreat? And then we matched up our school leaders and our schools with folks on the teaching and learning team, and they spent the afternoon really digging into whether it was their MTSS or whether it was one-to-one, as we mentioned at the last board meeting with Jackson County High School, moving in that direction. And they were allowed, they had time to just really dig into that and walk away with a plan that they could implement. So we feel real good about that. I believe that our school leaders feel really good about that. And it sets the tone for and I didn't tell you the theme. The theme is stay the course. We've done a lot of things over the last couple of years, and we said we just either need to get great at what we're good at, or we need to get grounded in things that we haven't quite really gotten grounded in. But you're not going to hear me say, oh, by the way, I really am excited about this new initiative that we're going to roll out. That's not. Teaching and Learning wants to stay the course, and that was very well received, I think, from our schools and our teachers. And so And that's our theme throughout the course of the year, not just for that one day. And so even with our professional learning over the course of the year, we've really modified. It's not a one size fits all. It's if you need this particular training, then let's provide that for you. But if y'all need something different, let's meet you where your needs are aligned. So incredibly exciting day, and I think it sets the tone for the year, which it really was an amazing group. The uplifting, positive attitude, solution oriented, and we had some fun.
Yeah, as you should,
That's
as
good,
we should. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a good day.
Segueing into that, the preparing for the future, the big initiative underneath that is certainly our Empower, and we've talked about Empower for many years now, and I know you already know John Easler, but we've got another design team that's already was meeting before we even knew John Easler, but now we have John to lead and partner in that work, and so on the 22nd of this month, we're going to actually be at Lanier Tech and working with them. We're going to do a bit of a tour of their campus, which if you've not been, you really should go. It's an amazing facility, but you walk away kind of inspired, and you see all the opportunities that are available for our students. So after we do that, we're going to engage in some design teamwork. And John, I'd love for you to chime in about what some of that work might look like and kind of segue us into dual enrollment, if you don't mind as well.
Absolutely. First of all, I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm very humbled that you chose me as the leader to be able to move forward with Empower Academy, and very, very excited about the opportunities. It's been a great week. It's been a busy week, but it's flown by because we just really kind of jumped in and are moving forward full steam. A couple of other things, that'll go along with this planning, things that I've been working on this week are coming up with a timeline over the next year and a half to 2 years till we get to opening and with milestones of achievements that we want to reach in order to make sure that when those first students step foot for the very first time in Empower Career Center, that they are absolutely going to get the best experience educationally that they've ever thought or dreamed that they could get. So that's first and foremost. And in that process, going through and really kind of dissecting the GCAP grant and all the work that's been done, I've looked at it a little bit before now, but really kind of digging deep into it and understanding what the expectations are, and then how do you marry all those expectations together. So really working that. We'll be working also to review our program offerings. It's been a few years, a couple of years, I think, since the needs assessment has been done, but to make sure that what we're going to plan on doing there is still relevant, and are there any gaps that need to be filled as we go through this planning process. So that's very important, and come up with a plan for going and visiting some exemplar facilities as we get ready to design and plan and go through our remodeling phase. And I know we've gone to some of these, but to go back and look at some of the best practices and things that are working, and just getting good ideas so that we can then design and implement the best career academy, career center in the state of Georgia that becomes a model for everybody. So really, really excited. And all that work is just going to be getting kicked off really this next week with this design team. A lot of excitement. I'm very excited. I think you could probably see that about that, and it's going to be really good.
And we're really glad he's here too. There's a lot of important work to happen.
The other part of that I didn't mention, though, is also strengthening the dual enrollment program and the opportunities and offerings that our students have and exposure to the dual enrollment program. I believe that in one of your past meetings that you went ahead and rescinded the dual enrollment policies that were in place, and which was a good thing to do, because the dual enrollment rules have changed so much over the past couple of years in most everybody's systems, and there was a requirement there that you had a policy, but because it's changed so much, the DOE has said, it's really not so important that you have a policy anymore related to dual enrollment, but just make sure that you're following our guidance as far as the rule goes. And so they did put some good guidance out there about an option A for dual enrollment and an option B, and the option B is really much more of that move on when ready, which came out years ago for students who need to be on that track that a traditional high school experience might not necessarily be what's most important. That the best thing is it really lays out what that true guidance is that we need to be using as we're working with our students and getting them into those dual enrollment programs. Without getting into the weeds, it talks about, you know, what end of course tests that need to be taken and things of that sort. So, so the rescinding of that was the policy that obviously was in violation of our own policy because the rules changed so much. But really just following the state guidance from here on out and strengthening those relationships with Lanier Tech and North Georgia as we move forward in this process to really come up with a lot of good opportunities for students to do dual enrollment.
And they're attached in here, there, as John was mentioning, there's a chart that shows you the two options. Essentially, the largest thing is Move On When Ready no longer exists. The name that was confusing everybody is gone, and you still have the same two options, but it's nice the way they lay it out, and they show you what's different and what's the same between the two. And it's really up to our discretion based on the student needs on which one of those options each student needs or best fits their trajectory.
So just in addition to that, one of the things that Ms. Wheeler asked about when she got here is we've been attempting to do policy review every month, and because we had so much packed into this agenda, we've opted to delay Section I. Mr. Cronick, I know you're going to be disappointed, but we're not studying policy tonight.
He is tore up about that.
So that's all that we're going to talk about with policy, and starting in August, we'll resume with Section I, which is instructional policies, but that's the one that will not be a policy, but it's guidance, and it's there for you, so.
And Mr. Cronick, it is worth noting that, as John mentioned, in 2016, we did rescind most of them underneath Swiss. So a lot of our instructional, we will not spend nearly as much time.
There's only 6 or 7, yeah. And it's important, like
It is critical.
like graduation requirements and stuff.
It's not more, but it's
I didn't
not as
know
many as it
Yeah.
used to be in the past.
Yep.
The last thing for leadership and performance, we have a link in there to the code of conduct. It's mostly for your information. During the operations retreat, Mr. Gilbert was nice enough to allow our principals to hang around afterwards and with our attorney go through that very thoroughly, and our principals all had, they were able to give some commentary. We had multiple folks taking notes, and then subsequently, Martha, if you have any comments that you'd like to make, but subsequently Martha and Karen have done some cleaning up and
Heavy
making
lifting,
sure
they
that-
sure have.
that it's consistent. So we did some conceptual work that day, but they've done the real alignment. It's mostly so that we can be consistent with our verbiage. But if either one of y'all have something that you'd like to add, I'd certainly welcome that.
The biggest change in the code of conduct was a terminology that was long-term suspension that is actually an alternative option or alternative program option with the advent of Canvas and some of the online possibilities that we have with students now that allowed for that alternative thing to be off campus and still allow the students to continue their instructional path. So that's a lot of what changed about it, and then so we cleaned up that verbiage throughout all the code of conduct as far as what kind of resolution principals have, and then added some additional items dealing with some of the
New challenges.
new challenges that we have with students and things that they bring on campus. That's pretty much in a nutshell what we addressed.
Excellent, and thank you, Martha and Karen, very much. One of Karen's goals going into this year is for us to kind of revamp our code of conduct and make it a little more comprehensive with a program of study to also include student expectations and some additional guidance for families. This is intended to cover expectations, but we want to put it in a little bit more of a proactive and comprehensive package. So looking forward to that, and thank y'all both for your help there. Just we will take a break, and I shared this with you the day before yesterday, but we would like for that to be an action item to approve as well, so that we can have those printed today. So I'll have those printed for the first day of school. So. Dr. Blankenship, excitement in the world of personnel and human resources.
This is the most wonderful time of the year. Very busy. Our principals and their hiring teams have been hard at work, and rightly so, because as you can see from the first item under human resources, our historical projected enrollment is certainly increasing. And so just to give you a little bit of background about these numbers, particularly for the board members who are new, we in July, we typically bring to you the numbers that we're looking at for the upcoming year. They are just projections because we don't know who's going to show up the first day. So in those first two columns from the right, so the column with July 17 and July 18, those numbers included the students who were already in our system, the students who had enrolled over the summer up to that date, as well as the number of students who had withdrawn but hadn't been taken out of those numbers. Okay, so it included, it was probably a little inflated, so to speak. The numbers for 2019 are slightly different in that we changed or revised the way we are handling our withdrawals so that we get a little bit more accurate picture of the numbers that we have. So any students who withdraw, and Monica, please correct me if I misspeak on this, but any students who withdraw during the summer, we are dating their withdrawal at the end of the school year, so they don't actually show up in these numbers that you see here. What it does still include, though, are those students that are gonna no-show at the beginning of the year, because
We don't.
Just don't know who that
How
may
many of
are.
those
Yeah.
there will be, but, and there'll always be a few. But we feel like these numbers are a more accurate reflection of what we have and coming to us. So just to give you a comparison, between 2017 and 2018, there was about a 2.3% increase from those numbers. From 2018 to 2019, it's a 3.9% increase, so it's almost double the number of students that we have.
So projected versus actual, does any of this reflect actual enrollment numbers? It says projected enrollment.
Right, so the bulk of those are students that were already in our system that we know will come back to us in the fall. But it does account, we can't account for those students who might move over
Sure.
the summer and not enroll.
Sure.
But when we come back in the fall, we'll be giving you updates. So on August 8th, you'll have the actual number of students that we had show up that day.
So we projected 7,719 last year, but actual, do you have actual, what that was?
I do have actual, I don't have it pulled up right now, but I can get that number for you.
We ended the year at 7950, right at 7950 we ended the year. So,
So it was a low projection.
this was the,
Well,
we had growth within the year.
Close to, this number is close to what we started the year with.
Right.
I don't want to misspeak, but I think it was maybe 100 off. But it stayed pretty steady, which was an indication to us of the growth last year.
Through the course of the year even, that was the,
Yeah, because it never really dropped. It just continued to increase throughout the year. But I'll be happy to share those numbers.
But I'm just curious as to how this reflected actual, projected versus actual.
Right, yeah, good question. So that's where we are right now, and of course, when we come together again on August 8th, you'll have the actual numbers that we start school with. So our next item is a review. I promised you an end-of-year review with ESS, our partner organization for our substitutes and some of our permanent positions. And so I met with them in June, and I would like to share that with you now. And so just to start off, you've got the PowerPoint linked in there, but we've also got it up here on the screen that you can look at. So for our absences, the first chart shows from August 1st to March 9th, and that's before we partnered with ESS. And so you can see that we had a 77% fill rate, which is very low and unacceptable. After we partnered with ESS from March 11th to June 1st, really the end of May, we had a 90% fill rate, which going in 3 short months to end up with a 90% fill rate for those 3 months is is really outstanding. We were very pleased with that, and that progress. And so for the whole year, the next slide you can see, we ended up with an 81% fill rate. Of course, only 3 months out of the year at a 90% fill rate is not gonna increase that overall fill rate very much, but we were making progress. So this next chart, I think, really shows you though how we increased March, April, and May. You can see as the first set of bars shows the number of unfilled positions going down each month, and the next two show the number of filled positions going up each month, and that's really what you want to see. And then next, this is really just for your information, the fill rate by school. And what I would say about this is for us to be able to look at it this way, and by the way, ESS provides us with all of this data. That's part of the
that's
service
good.
that they provide to us. But looking at it this way, we're able to see how many absences were at each school, how many were unfilled, and it helps us to target areas. So for example, when we see a school has a much lower fill rate than other schools, then we know, okay, we might need to recruit more subs specifically for that school. And that's exactly what ESS has done. So they've gone and targeted specific schools to recruit in those areas from those parents, and they'll be going to some of our schools' open houses to set up tables and provide information to parents, because that's really where you get your best substitutes from, is your parent population. So just some statistics on substitutes from March to May. We had 39 subs hired during that time. There were 12 deactivations. That could be for a variety of reasons. Subs didn't work out, they got another job, so lots of different reasons. For a total of 131 active substitutes, 15 of those were certified subs, so we know we really need to build our certified sub pool. The target for us is 150 subs. So they've been doing this for a long time in a lot of school systems, so they know that if we can reach that magic number of 150, we're very likely to have 98-99% fill rate. There were 14 incident reports.
You may want to just share why we need certified subs. When are those
Great
needed?
point, Ms. Wheeler. So when we have teachers out long-term, so more than 10 days, then we need a sub that's certified to teach in that area. So that would be why we would need to have certified subs.
And many times we have retired educators who, taught in our system that are willing to do those.
Yes, a good number of those are retired educators, or they are individuals who taught and then maybe decided to stay home, and they just don't want to work full time.
Yeah.
So they're willing to come and do short-term stints, but they like the flexibility.
And they have a higher rate. They're paid a higher rate also
Yes.
than our regular subs are because of certification.
Right. So another feature that we have with our partnership are the incident reports that are provided. So anytime there's an issue with a sub, they can do an incident report, and that gets shared with ESS. It also gets shared with us. And that way we know, we have an accurate picture of what's going on. The incident reports don't necessarily mean that it's something like a bad interaction with a student or a parent or anything like that. It could be that sub showed up late. Or it could be, maybe they didn't follow the lesson plan quite like they should. So that gives ESS some information about where that sub might need more training, or if it's unacceptable behavior, then of course they dismiss them. So. And then finally, I just wanted to recap the benefits of the partnership. So for our substitutes and our permanent employees, just a reminder that they do get weekly pay. They have a flexible schedule. They get ongoing training and support. So not only do they get that initial 4-hour training, which some of the feedback that we've gotten is that that's really been outstanding training that they receive. They have access to a variety of benefits, to a 401k, and after a certain period of time, they get a matching contribution if they're choosing to participate in the 401k.
And now they do the training,
They
don't
do the training.
So we don't have to be responsible for that.
Right, all we do is provide the space. And they can, in fact, we had a training, just a couple of weeks ago, and we trained another 18 subs that's not included in that. The list that we have, the number that I provided earlier. There is a referral program, so if, any Jackson County employee that refers someone to ESS and gets, and that person gets hired, then they have a little referral bonus program. There's an employee recognition program and as well as an employee discount program that they provide, those who are employed by ESS. And then for us, we get some benefits too. The increased recruitment for substitutes, their ESS really has it down to a science, and they're able to do what we just don't have the time to do in terms of recruiting substitutes. We have a higher fill rate, decreased administrative costs for frontline and absence management, because they cover the cost of absence management for us, so that helps to offset some of the increased overhead that they charge for the subs. Ongoing training and support for Jackson County employees. In a couple of weeks, we have a training set up with our bookkeepers, and they're going to train our bookkeepers on a couple of features in absence management that we have not utilized, that will actually decrease some of the time that it takes payroll to process, as well as some of the time it takes them to reconcile each month. So that's gonna be a tremendous feature. So I know Mr. Clarsey was asking a couple of months ago about, didn't this help to decrease some of the work? Yes, but we're still in the transition process and the implementation process, so we're not going to see all of those benefits immediately, but this is one that we're very excited about. And then it does alleviate some of the tasks associated with substitute management, both at the school level and at the district level. So, all in all, we've been very, very pleased with the partnership so far, and they've been very responsive. We have a total of, I believe, at this point, with the new positions that we're going to be filling through, and when I say new, it's just recent resignations that we'll be now filling through ESS with some of our classified positions. I think we have about 20 positions, which is more than we needed to offset any additional costs that were going to be associated with the partnership. So we're very excited about that. In fact, they are assigning someone specifically to Jackson County. The person that has been working with us, who's wonderful, is responsible for working with 3 different counties. So we have gotten to the point where they're going to assign somebody specifically to us. So we're very excited about that as well.
Well, it's certainly making substituting more attractive than it's been in the past.
It really is, and our substitute, we've gotten quite a bit of positive feedback, and anytime there has been any critique or feedback for improvement, they have taken that and responded to it very quickly, and so it's really been a seamless process. So, any questions about any of this information? The next piece is what I'm really excited to share with you. Our 1920 new hire data. So we have some exciting new employees that are coming to us, very strong, great quality hires that our principals and their hiring teams have interviewed and made some great selections this summer. So I want to just recap for you pretty quickly here. but I'm happy to take any questions that you have. So we have 110 new hires so far. We have 7.5 as of this particular presentation, we had 7.5 positions. We've got 6.5 now because we have one with your approval is on the recommendation list tonight. So 50 of those new hires though have 5 or less years of experience. So it's a good thing, and I'll share some information about our induction program in just a moment, but that really harkens the need for a strong induction program, because if we can get those teachers to their 5th year and beyond, then they're set. So, because over half of the teachers leave in the first 5 years if they don't leave their profession. So if we can get them to 5, then we're set. That's our goal. Just a little bit of information about the certification levels. So level 4, which is really the entry level certification, a T4. We have about 38% of our new hires at that level. Level 5, which is a master's degree in teaching, is 45%. Level 6, or a specialist degree, we have about 12%. And then a smaller number there that were hired with a doctorate, I believe that was 2. And then we had one that we hired on a waiver, and that was one of our new healthcare science teachers who comes to us. We're able to hire any of our teachers on waiver because we are a strategic waiver system and we've waived certification. We have certain professional qualifications that we put in place, so they have to meet certain minimum requirements to be hired. But for, particularly for positions like some of our CTAE positions, they may not have a bachelor's degree, but they have industry certification or licensure, or they have experience in the field, and we don't want our students to miss out on somebody who would be a great instructor just because they don't have a bachelor's degree. I think that sends the wrong message, really, and discounts those who have who obtain their knowledge and experience through other means. So experience, this is just kind of information about where our teachers are coming from. So it's kind of a busy chart to look at, so I'll just point out a couple of things. We've got experience coming to us from a lot of different areas. And so I think that when you talk about diversity, there are a lot of different ways to look at diversity, and while we certainly demographically have a much more diverse cohort this year, which we're excited about, we also have a diversity of experiences. So we have, I would say, Gwinnett, Barrow, and Clark are the 3 systems where the majority have the highest percentage. And then, we do have some coming from business and higher ed. We have almost 5% coming from out of state, and then almost 15% that are new to the profession. So there's 19 brand new teachers. So here's a chart that's a little easier to look at, and I think has some pretty exciting information for you. So 110 positions filled, 7.5, or like I said, after tonight's approval, 6.5 positions left to fill. 19 new to the profession, 37 are in the induction phase, which is the first 3 years of teaching. And they are all part of our induction program. And on average, they come to us with 8.7 years of experience. We hired 3 of our own paraprofessionals as teachers, which I'm personally very excited about, because the more we can build from the better off we are. So this year, our goal is to focus on our paraprofessionals that want to be teachers. University of North Georgia actually has a program. They have a grant that will offset it's not University of North Georgia, it's Piedmont College. They have a grant that offsets the cost of tuition by about 50% for paraprofessionals, and it's anybody who lives in Jackson County that wants to get a bachelor's degree. And so we offered a meeting for our paraprofessionals and anyone else in our system that doesn't have a bachelor's degree that's interested. The only requirements were you had to be 25 years or older, and not have completed a bachelor's degree. So that was an exciting program that we could offer to those individuals who are interested in that. So focusing there on our paraprofessionals, and then we've worked really hard to build partnerships with higher education institutions. So bringing in student teachers and getting them into our system. That way we can see what kind of teacher they might be, and they can see how they like us, and we can begin to build this. We're gonna focus on those two areas this year for recruitment. And then this is, to me, the most exciting and one area I'm really proud of for our system is that 76% of our administrative and teacher leader positions were filled with internal candidates. That speaks to how we're building capacity and developing our internal employees. So, pretty excited about that.
That's fantastic. That's a great goal. And Dr. Blankenship, I don't know if you're going to talk about the personnel list next, or if you're going to talk about some of our personnel needs, whichever.
I can talk about either.
Talk about the needs if you, yeah,
first.
that'd be great, because I want to make sure we highlight some important.
So as you've seen, the growth that we are seeing in our projected numbers, we also, what's kind of hidden in there is the number of new special education students that we have. And those students are not only students that are coming to us, but they're students that are in our system that have recently qualified. And the numbers are pretty striking at a couple of schools, at Gum Springs and at East Elementary. And so with your blessing, we're in a position where we need to add 2.5 teachers to meet the needs of those students. That's not something that we can really say,
Sorry.
we're not gonna do that.
No.
So we need to do that. Some of the needs can be met with paraprofessionals, and so we have situations where we need a paraprofessional at South, we need 2 at East. One of those is a one-on-one, and then we need 1 at Gum and 1 at West Elementary. And so that will, meet the needs of all of those new special education students that we have.
So we need 4 paraprofessionals.
4 paraprofessionals and
2.5 teachers.
And where are the teachers needed?
at Gum and at East Elementary. And those paraprofessionals will be hired through our partnership with DSS.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I guess one thing that I didn't mention is that we've actually had some of our current employees ask and inquire about,
can I go to work there?
how can I go to work for ES? It's not that they don't enjoy being Jackson County employees, but they see the benefits of being able to have that weekly paycheck and some of the other things that we're just not able to provide. And we still consider them our employees because they work for us. They're part of the Jackson County family, and so we're talking with them about how we can set up some meetings so those employees can get information. It wouldn't be anything required for them to attend, but if they wanted to find out more information, they could. We just want the best for our employees.
Right,
And
whichever
we want them to be
avenue that is.
and we want them to stay with us. We don't really care who signs their paycheck.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do that, and I'll let you know how that goes.
Well, it's sort of hard to be finding some really good ones right now, isn't it?
Teachers,
Yeah.
yes, this is not a great time to be searching for teachers, but I will tell you that we have been very, very fortunate in the past couple of weeks to really find some individuals that just kind of dropped out of the sky. They were in unique situations and either moving to the area or finishing up school, and so we've been able to capture or capitalize on those situations. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to do the same with these special education positions.
And I just want to follow up, if you don't mind, Dr. Blankenship, and express my appreciation to her and our principals, because we are in a difficult time. It's always like this, but it's been a while since we were experiencing this kind of growth. So we're holding tight, because right now there are numbers at certain places that look like they're pretty close, but they've been very responsive and understanding. We've said we want to wait until we see who arrives the first day of school. So we may end up having to ask you in August, that just depending on who shows up. But right now we're holding pretty tight on let's wait and see who shows up. So
We have 4 schools that we're watching the numbers very closely, and like Dr. Howard said, we want to wait until, if we see that it explodes and there's no, we can't have 40 kids in first grade class, then we'll come to you. But we're keeping a good eye on that. And
Some of our elementary schools on the west.
three elementary
all
schools
3 in the
and-
west.
and middle school.
Yeah. Yep. So.
And then the other need that we have that we have mentioned to you before about the possibility of our clinic aides going full-time. And we know that that's still on hold because we're still kind of in this holding pattern with our budget. We do have 2 schools that have a tremendous need. And we shared some information with you back in February. If you go back to that board
Retreat date,
that we did, we shared a chart that had the health needs of the students at different schools, and there were 2 that stood out very strikingly: West Middle and Jackson County High School. And that's not to discount the needs of the other schools, because there's certainly needs there as well. But we would like to put out for your consideration that if it would be possible to go ahead and move forward with 2 full-time to serve those 2 schools. And then as we get the tax digest in and a more firm idea for our budget, then we could discuss moving forward with the rest of them full-time. But so that's just out there for your consideration. It would be a great help at those 2 schools.
We did talk about that at the retreat, and I think the total budget impact, if we did all of our schools, was right at $65,000. Obviously, it would be much less than that if we just did 2 schools. And it does need to be noted that South Jackson already has a full-time, and that they have several of our self-contained classes that have very medically fragile children, and so we really feel like we need it there. But we've got some medically fragile children that are that number is increasing. So the West Middle and Jackson County High School.
Yes.
Have the same issues, not exact same, they're different, but it's high impact. So if you all can consider that and let us know what your thoughts are on it, it'd be great to be able to respond to that.
And that's not on our agenda.
It is not it's one of those things that, it's not technically a line item recommendation, it would be a budget adjustment.
And just as a reminder, we would be hiring them through ESS. So.
And before we roll into personnel, Dr. Blankenship, if you don't mind, I'd like to just publicly make some thank yous to Dr. Pete Jones, who served Jackson County Comprehensive High School for 5 years and did a fantastic job. And I must say that I'm very proud of where Jackson County High School is. We got some preliminary results that we can't share yet. They're still embargoed, but the data continues to show that our high schools are really doing great work. However, Dr. Jones made a personal decision to take another position, so he has vacated the leadership position at Jackson County High School, and as well as Jessica Rayberg, who was an assistant principal in that capacity. And while we are grateful for their work, and we are very excited that they've found places that they are wanting to be, we are equally excited about the opportunity that lies ahead for us. And so one of the items that I've already spoken to you about, but you will see on your agenda tonight, is we'd like to recommend that Mr. Jason Wester serve as interim principal. Jason is here tonight, and I want to thank him for being here. I talked to him earlier today, and I said, "You really don't have to come." He said, "I will be there." And I said, "Well, as a professional, of course you will." So we are very, very excited about the direction that Jackson County High School is headed. headed. Jason brings a sense of spirit and energy and excitement and an understanding of the whole child, and we're very grateful to him. And so, Jason, thank you. You were willing to step into a difficult situation at a difficult time, but Jackson County High School is going to just continue to sail and continue to go to greater heights. In addition, that meant we had some other shifts, and I want to make you aware that Kendra Phillips has forever served Jackson. I think she's been in Jackson County her whole life, and she does a great job. She and Jason could speak to this. She's kind of the rock. She's the steadfast, without a doubt. And he shared that, how grateful he was for her leadership. So I just want to highlight and thank Kendra for her continued leadership. And she's really beyond an assistant principal. We're looking at her almost like as an associate because she just does such great work. In addition to that, we had Miss Melissa Gillespie, who came to us last year from North Carolina, has her children in our school district, and just an outstanding instructional leader. She was slated to be the IB coordinator, done a lot of work with IB, and we've asked her if she would be willing to serve as the assistant principal to replace Jessica Rayberg, and she is willing. So with your approval, we would like to recommend her as the assistant principal to replace Jessica Rayberg, and I think the school just continues to soar to new heights. So thank you, Jason, again. Kendra's not here. Thank you, Kendra, and a very special thank you to Ms. Gillespie as well, because I think in a quick moment we transitioned, and we have a fantastic team leading Jackson County High School.
Yes, particularly they all have previous leadership experience, and I think one of the things that Dr. Jones, did well is he hired well, and then he developed leadership capacity in his school at different levels. And so that's, really what's made this transition to this, this stage a much easier one, because there were people already there that could step into roles. So.
And you may want to speak to the process, or we have posted the position. Dr. Blankenship has put out a survey to elicit feedback from the community, and when I say the school community, students, we've gotten student feedback, we've gotten parents, we've gotten
teachers.
But we do have great confidence in the staff that's there now, and so we're not in a rush. We feel like it's important that they're able to get the school year started, and that they have a great start and get a solid beginning to the school year, and then we'll proceed with the process. So we'll go forward. All right, you want to speak any more to the personnel list? I think it is attached for their review.
It has been sent to them.
Right,
And
it will be attached tomorrow.
I think that,
There was one that was maybe going to be added.
yes, so that, there was a resignation from Sandra Solis, who was a special education professional, who finished her teaching degree, and unfortunately, we, our position that she would have qualified for came up too late. So she took a position in another system, and we wish her well, and we hope she'll come back to us when the time comes.
This is the complete list.
This is the complete list.
All right, very good. Well, you already had some good news with finance, and I think Ms. Dodge and Ms. Bryant have more good news to share, but I will leave that good news to you.
If you want to look at the fund balance comparison, I know throughout the last few months that we had mentioned that with the way that everything's going and expenditures were occurring, that we would very easily end year end well over 13 million. And even with preliminary numbers, we've got a few receivables to book and a few year-end things that might change it $200,000 one way or the other, but we're still going to end up well over 13 million for this fiscal year. So that's
awesome.
Phenomenal.
It is outstanding,
great.
absolutely outstanding.
Great.
It's great. We're at, of course, ending, over $2 million above where we ended last year. So it's definitely a great thing, but it's a thing we need real bad right now.
That's right.
So if you want to look then at the actual financial report, you'll see that our revenue collections right now with preliminary numbers are at 98%. But once we get some of these receivables that are starting to come in booked, then that number will be at 100%, if not well over. And then if you want to look at expenditures, we ended the year at 2% below where we had budgeted. So, everything is right in line and even better, and it has been a good year.
Every time we get to have this conversation, I have to say again, this doesn't happen without people carefully watching and looking at the return on their investments and being efficient and thoughtful with their expenditures, including our schools. I mean, the schools really have been, and their patience with us with personnel and being thoughtful and being, efficient with that, so.
And then the last piece of good news is the SPOS report. We're again close to $700,000. With the pro rata share and the actual collection, we are at a little over $676,000, and it's above every measure.
Mm-hmm.
So month over month, year over year, average is almost to 650 now. So SPOS numbers are looking great.
The retail development in the Brazelton area is really, I think, having a great positive impact on us.
Well, it's kind of interesting to me because we were a little bit worried when this SPOS series started because the distribution percentages kind of changed, and we were just hoping that things would stay, somewhat level. We wouldn't see a tremendous decrease, and then to see these kind of increases continue month after month is just amazing.
And then we got that hotel that's
Yep.
eventually they're going to be moving really slow, but we'll have it, so.
That's right.
Pretty good revenue right there.
That'll help as well.
I would say too, just our businesses in the area have been very supportive of our new teachers. We've been preparing for new teacher orientation, and they have been
Gracious.
donating, just some tremendous door prizes and things to welcome our new teachers.
And it's actually to the point now where they're reaching out to us.
Yes.
Offering to say, hey,
Well,
we'd
how
love to
nice,
help.
yes,
So
yes.
it's
Chateau Alon offered a weekend.
Yes,
Chateau-
Chateau Alon offered
Oh,
not to call anybody out, but.
Sure.
A weekend with spa treatment. Yeah, I mean, it's just, so it's those kinds of things, and, that's gonna come back to them. Because
Sure it is.
when they love on our teachers are gonna return the favor
That's
and
exactly
visit their
right.
business establishments, and so it's, we're helping each other.
And we remind our teachers every single day, and our leaders, you never get a second chance at a first impression. And if we can give our new teachers a great first impression, the likelihood of them staying with us is great. So thank you for that. That's been a lot of hard work y'all have invested in trying to, it's paying off.
HR team
I know it.
And Karen and many others that have
Yep,
helped with
it's
that.
paying off. It's great. All right, and we have a line item there for bond rating and resolution, but I think we've checked that box, so that was all good. So very good.
Presented the pinnacle. There's nothing else to say.
They really did, yeah. And it was fun. They were geeked up. They were excited yesterday, weren't they? Which is great. Very good. All right, operations.
Good, good evening, everyone. It's been a busy time, and I'll chime in as well on the bond sale. That was fun.
Yeah.
It really is. It's interesting to me. It's not a world I live in very often, so to watch it happen was great. We'll start off tonight. Josh, you want to give a little update on the summer projects?
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's almost over. It seemed like it started. I mean, you could start school a little later.
I voted my last time. I'll tell you that.
So we've had a lot going on. Some of the most noticeable ones, I guess, if anybody's been in Maysville lately, it's had quite a makeover. Looks great. It's wrapping up now. New floor, new paint. Looks really nice. We've had West Elementary's cafeteria got a new facelift. North Jackson had a lot of things going on. We've had, every school's been touched in some way. We've had a ton of air conditioners replaced. And maybe next month we'll get kind of a whole overview of everything that we were able to accomplish.
And with all that, he wanted me to brag that he's He's still got
I
money
still have a
left. I
little
think
money
he's
left,
got
right.
$10 left. in his
Yeah.
Oh,
bank.
$10,
Yes.
$10.
So I'm pretty proud
Well,
of that.
hey,
Efficient budgeting
glad
there.
it's not a minus 10.
Yeah.
He'd be getting his checkbook out.
Yeah. So it's been a great summer. We've been able to accomplish a lot. We still got, a few weeks to get a few more things in.
Very good.
Thanks. The next thing on the list is the monthly project report, and you've got that added in your packet, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. It describes the rest of the work that we've been involved in over the last, since we last met, upcoming work and current work. So lots going on, and then the next line item, I'll talk a little bit about the CM at risk selection process on the new high school. We received proposals yesterday, and we had a mandatory pre-proposal meeting a couple of weeks ago and had 9 really good construction management firms respond. And then we had 8 proposals that we received yesterday. So we're very fortunate to have that kind of response. It means people are very interested in Jackson County and our future. Our committee met, and we met about 4 hours today, and we all spent time prior to that just studying the proposals. And we shortlisted today for 5 construction managers that we'll interview next Tuesday morning and afternoon. So exciting time on that, and again, it's great that we have really good firms who want to work with us. The CM at risk selection process for East Jackson Middle School is going on as well, and that proposal is out right now. And mandatory pre-proposal is next week or the week after. I can't remember the exact date, and then the proposals are due on August 6th. So that one we're trying to get prepared for, so that we'll have a construction management firm on board at the same time we're beginning design. That's very important, and then we'll marry up scheduling and cost and all of the pre-construction work that makes those better jobs. The Empower Architectural Selection is, we're kind of on hold right now. We received our proposals on, I believe it was June 18th, but at the very same time, we received proposals for East Jackson Middle for architects. So we're trying to run those instead of running them together. We're trying to kind of offset a little bit because there's a lot of work involved, and we wanted to focus on East Jackson Middle first. But John's been involved with us. He's been part of that evaluation team, and so that's the next step we'll be having on Empower, and looking forward to that. I do want to share just a little bit. There's an action item later on architect selection or the recommendation for our upcoming project on East Jackson Middle. And just to clarify a bit on that, I think in my attachment that was provided was a little bit confusing. On June 18th, we received proposals. On June 20th, we scored, and we did 2 tiers of scoring, so to speak. One was a ranking that all of us did. It's a general ranking. In other words, we read all the proposals and rank as you go. And then the second, in accordance with the request for proposals, was a scoring mechanism. It was weighted according to what we put in the request for proposals. And we scored that. So the document you have was the original, the initial scoring that then shortlisted to 4 architectural firms. We interviewed those firms this past Monday. Had a number of us went there and had a real good session, about 45 minutes with each one, somewhat informal, somewhat formal, depending on how they wanted to present. And we came out of that meeting with a discussion and a vote, so to speak, that, well, it was a vote, and that we were unanimous in what our recommendation is. So you have that tonight, and it is an action item later, but I just wanted to explain because I felt like it was a bit confusing. And then our project manager update. Did you want to talk about that?
I do, and before we leave the architectural selection, I think we probably want to go ahead and tell the board who was selected. Sure. And a little bit potentially about their next steps, our next steps with them.
We had 4 really fine firms, one of which is Southern A&E, who has been doing a lot of work, done a lot of work here for 20 years plus. and then 3 other firms. And one we recommend is Hussey Gay Bell. They're a strong school architect and designer. They brought a great team, and what we try to do in the interview process is you go beyond step 1, which is a book you receive. And then in the interview, you get to meet the people you're going to work with and hear their vision. Talk to them about how they see the job phasing and what kind of vision and creativity they can bring to it. And Hussey Gay Bell brought a fine team. The president came from Savannah, and they really presented, I think, to all of us something that we got very excited about. The other firms are absolutely excellent firms. But when you go through the process, we always say this, that you create a process, you drive through that process, and you trust it in the end. And we did that, and that's why our recommendation, we're excited about it. I think they'll do a wonderful job at that school. And so we do that, give that recommendation to you tonight. Did you want to add?
No, they differentiated themselves in the interview to me quite clearly. The team that they brought, the experience, the numbers of renovations and similar projects, that was very evident. And that there was one element there that I really appreciated in the way that they review plans, and they've got a dual check system. So they send their plans for review. They check plans in-house, but then they also have a second set of eyes. And others may do that, but it's never been differentiated like that. And it was clearly a tight set of plans was what we knew we were looking for, especially after some of our previous experiences. So anyway, I feel very good about that, and feel confident in that. And as Mr. Gilbert alluded to, one of the things that we had spoken to you about before is with the numbers of projects we have going on, someone who's really advocating for us. And we have identified a veteran who we feel like would do a fantastic job with this. I think this person is probably a 2 to 4 year solution, and is very willing, in fact prefers to be a contracted service, which allows us to make it a part of the project and to do it through SPLOST. It's probably more cost effective to do it that way. Certainly doesn't affect our general fund, becomes a part of the SPLOST budget, and would like to be able to proceed with moving forward. Since it's not technically a hire, it's really a contracted service, a part of SPLOST, but I feel outstanding person, has over 35, 40 years experience in this kind of work. In terms of building for the future, I think we're still going to need to look at developing a plan for future support for folks who are under the tutelage of these folks who are very experienced in developing a project manager to oversee the projects. Because the growth and the construction, whether it be new construction, renovations, or additions, I think is going to be the pattern for Jackson County Schools in the next couple of decades, to be honest with you. But just wanted to let you know that we have followed up on that, and feel like we have someone who can do a really, really good job with that.
And as Mr. Clarsey mentioned last meeting, talk about that long-term plan. And we have some really good people in-house that work with us now, the supervisor area and others that I hope will be part of that long-term plan. Allows a veteran like this to really pass along some information and help those fellows in their careers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very good. And you have one more item on there, and I think since our whole board is here, that we do not have an action item on here, but I think we need to officially finalize that at least in the next month or two. So discussion of the name for the new high school.
I just kind of put the naming of the new high school as a placeholder, and I know there's been discussion on this in the past, and there was some discussion on perhaps using a process to obtain some input outside of the board. But I just wanted to keep it on there. We do need a name in the next month or two.
I'm ready to vote on it.
Yeah, I am.
I'm sorry.
I'm ready to vote on it tonight.
Do we want to go ahead and just talk about that right now?
Be good to talk about it, I guess.
That's what I think we need.
I got your heart
That's what
set on
I'm saying.
something,
Yeah. Well, Michael,
I
you
mean,
want
I'm
to,
still in favor of Jackson County High School.
well,
I think it makes it easier on the Booster Club. I think it makes it easier on everything else, and don't put a lot of money. If you rename it, you got Booster Club's going to have to raise a lot of money to change a lot of different things.
exactly.
So,
I totally agree. I totally agree.
and then I don't want to do away with my alma mater either.
Yeah,
So, and I don't want.
yeah,
I'm part of that. So,
yeah,
I feel pretty strongly about keeping it what it is.
yeah. Does anybody else have some comments on your
I'm
feelings?
not ready to vote on everything, but I'm ready to vote on that.
You agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I can just, I've said this before, I'm tired of all the west and the east,
Absolutely.
it all gets so confused and
Yes.
craziness. And so I just think we need to leave it like it is. I'm totally good with it being Jackson County Comprehensive High School. What do you think, Bo?
Have you guys talked to your constituents? Is that what everybody wants?
Well, I've actually had some folks to contact me and say, please do not change
Yeah.
our name, leave us alone.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same population that we're serving right now.
Absolutely.
And
They're
that's-
just relocating is
Yes.
what they're doing.
Yeah, that's been to answer your question, the folks that I've talked to, my vision was just basically a relocation of the existing high school.
That's right.
There's
Yeah.
gonna be another high school farther west in the not too distant future, I would expect. So at that time, that high school would be the next new high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's what happened. So once, the folks that I spoke to, once we discussed it in that, kind of in that way,
Right.
they agreed.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah, I
okay with
haven't
it.
had anybody that did
No.
it, so.
Are you gonna keep comprehensive in there?
Technically, a comprehensive high school is supposed to offer like 15 pathways, and because we're going to have Empower College and Career Center, my recommendation is that it just be Jackson County High School.
I'm good with that.
I can get behind that.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Mr. Wester is here, and I know you're.
Yeah. Well, Carol, how about you?
Oh, I agree. I've had people say to me,
Yeah.
I don't want to change. What do you can't change. They go almost
Yeah,
ballistic.
like,
Don't
why would you-
change
yeah.
that name.
Yeah, why would you do that? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, do we want to add that to our agenda to make
You're
that
the board.
approval
You
tonight?
certainly have the right to do whatever you want. I think that would be wonderful if we could check that box.
Let's make that number 9, that we will,
It gets it wrong out
I'm
there.
so glad you sit over here now.
I think that helps. It helps our community, and it helps. I mean, we know we're going to be the Panthers. And honestly, even with plans, architectural plans, things like that, we need an official name. And
Yeah.
so that will be recommend approval of the new facility on Skelton Road to be named Jackson County High School.
Okay.
Yeah, works. Very good. All right. That was. All right. Transportation, David.
Howard, thank you. We have been seeking a platform that allows us better communication for our parents, and we are implementing MyStop. We received training on that on July 17th, which kind of gives us a plan of communicating better, more efficient with our parents. What this allows is we can set up geozones within 2 to 5 miles of a location, a house, or a bus stop. Then a parent can sign up for an app, and that app allows that parent to go on and see where their bus is. So if we double up a bus, or if a bus is, if we're 15 minutes late, or if they have to meet them at the stop, they're able to go on their app that they sign up for, and they can actually see where their bus is, and it gives them estimated time to arrive. So we hope that in doing this, it will allow the constant calling of where's my bus at, what time will it be here, and it's not on that scheduled time, even if it is, to give parents that heads up, say, hey, we're on our way. This has been a process. The logistics and just the time it's taken throughout the year to get everything they need from our GPS standpoint, and setting up the training has been a task in itself. So we are excited about this. This gives us another layer of effective communication that our community has asked for, and we feel that this will be a strong indicator of that.
We're excited about that.
And we're gonna, I'm sorry about that.
No, I was just gonna say, we made tremendous progress last year in the transportation department, and grateful for your leadership there. This will just continue to help us.
Well, one thing this will help us do, and we're gonna roll this out, and we're gonna pilot it, so not every school at the beginning of school will have this. We wanna make sure that we roll it out and do a pilot school and make sure that if there's any bugs or any things that's unforeseen, we go ahead and take care of that. And then when we roll it out to all 10 schools, we'll move forward with it. So, very excited about it.
That's good, that's good. Well, and I noticed that you've got a number of, bus drivers on the personnel, and
Yes,
so
ma'am,
we're
we
close
do.
to being where we need to be for opening.
We are very close. Some of those are bus monitors. There's 3 that are bus monitors and 9 that are drivers. And as I state this very cautiously and optimistically, in the fact that I feel very strongly that we will roll out the beginning of the year what we need.
Right.
Of course, we also know that there are variables. Sometimes people drop out at the last minute, and sometimes they decide a different career path. So in saying that, I feel very confident that I can say that we're gonna be ready to roll out the first day. I will say our training and routing department has worked very hard in making routes efficient and acquiring people and training people. I spoke to a training class 2 days ago, and there were 9 people in that. So I'm very pleased with what our training department, you've seen our buses out, you've seen the signs, and that's not only our county, but other counties.
Oh, yeah.
I have to tell you this, we received an email the other day from a newspaper that Jackson County wanted to reach out and help us spread the word. The only problem was it was in Oregon, so. That was,
Just got back.
That was kind of interesting.
Jackson County, I think in every state of the nation.
I appreciate the offer.
Yeah.
It's a nationwide problem.
Yeah.
But I will say that we're very blessed in our community responding to our need. And I can't tell you how many people, 50% of the people in that class, they saw that because they read that sign and said, I want help. My community needs help with getting our children to school. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that from our community stakeholders.
Absolutely.
So thank you, and I appreciate our board, our superintendent seeing a need for buses and meeting that need also, because that has made a tremendous difference.
And you got 4 bond buses.
We do. We have
4 bond buses.
Oh, good.
Yes, sir.
That's the first time in a long time. It's been 1 for
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Last year,
It
yes, sir,
was
last
4,
year
okay.
we received 4. This year we received 4 also. So we're excited about that.
That's great.
And,
We're not driving old buses as we have been doing
Are
for
they
so
the
many
same buses
years.
that we already have, or are they
Well,
small brand that we don't?
I have looked at those buses. I've looked at the Thomas Freightliner C2. I had the 7 running out actually yesterday, and look at the buses that they have with a different type of engine in it. But
Oil on Freightliner.
Detroit, Detroit's at the Freightliner. They have Cummings too. But anyway, we can sit there and hash that out later. But yes, we're looking at those buses also, and they will be. We will use the state bid contract to purchase those buses, so that will help also.
And 2 of those will be special needs
2 will be
buses.
special ed, 2 will be regular ed. So,
Do you hear that, Ms. Neesmith?
Yes, 2 special ed, buses.
and we're gonna need them with the numbers.
She's still looking for teachers back there.
Can you get teacher drivers? And I do have a question earlier about surplus buses. We have sold all of them but 1. And had 2 individuals look at those today and have another individual coming Monday. So after we sell that, and the ones that we have surplus will be gone. And then once we receive these 4, we plan on surpluses.
Who buys them?
Different individuals. I had nonprofit, well, the YWC out of Athens, I guess I can say that, but
Sure,
the YWC out of Athens did buy 1, and we've had individuals that in the community involved also.
You've had some churches maybe, do some of the churches?
We've had some interested churches, but none of this round churches bought this time. But most of the churches want the smaller buses with the
Sure,
lift.
yeah.
So that's something that we have not had to surplus as of yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are usually in high demand.
I imagine, yeah.
Alright, and the last item under operations is the Jackson County Ag Facility MOU between the Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners. And this is something that I brought to you before, and Mr. Gilbert shared with you the intergovernmental agreements. I will tell you that I shared with Kevin Poe and I shared with Dr. Cook one of the things that I think potentially all of our board members and potentially all of our board of commissioners don't realize how many intergovernmental agreements already exist. And so as a part of that partnership and that planning that we're gonna do in September and October, they have taken and have a copy of all of our existing intergovernmental agreements and memorandum of understandings between the board of commissioners and the school system, so that we have those to look at and just review and make you aware. It's a page and a half full. There's a lot of already existing, which is great. I mean, partnership is good.
Yeah.
So I put this one on the agenda for discussion. I did not make it an action item, but you are the board. You can make that at any time. But I wanted you to know that the Board of Commissioners has asked us to follow up with the consideration of the ag facility. And as you've seen this before, I shared this with you last month, but they're asking for all three school systems to partner in the maintenance and operation of the facility. And so you can see there that the Jackson County's school portion would be approximately $10,000 on an annual basis, and this would be in effect until 2024. So I put that for your consideration, and it's up to you all whether or not you want to.
I'm good. I think Jefferson done their share at their last board meeting.
Well, my concern is, do we need to make that kind of commitment when we have already partnered with the county? I mean, we gave them half of Gordon Street.
Mm-hmm.
That was a nice gift.
It was, I agree.
And I am delighted that we were able to do that, because it's been well used, and for the rec department, I'm delighted we can do that. But, I'd just like to have a little less, here. I think, you know, we've already extended the,
We extended
the branch,
a long
yeah,
time ago. I agree
yeah.
with that.
And so I'd like to reconsider that amount. And I don't know.
What is Jefferson's amount?
It's proportional by FTE, so.
Yes, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
You know,
But I think those things
the
need to
part
be
of
in
me that's-
consideration.
That's good with it is with me and my family being involved in that and knowing that we have completely overrun this down here.
Oh, yeah,
You know, we've overrun that. The county has taken on a pretty big burden and went out on a limb to build this thing. You know, what is it for, I read it's 5 years, is it 5 years?
it's through 2024, that's correct, it's 5 years.
So it does save us some money not having to build another ag facility. I
It
don't
does.
think we'll ever have an opportunity to build an ag facility here again.
Yeah.
You know, we looked at it, one time at East Jackson, and at
Yeah.
that time it was over 400,000.
Yeah.
They made it a whole lot bigger than that.
Sure.
So I'm okay with it. I think it's all right. I think it's doing
Are there
our fair share.
guidelines, who gets to use it this time, you have to draw your name out of a hat to get to use it, I mean, where's that set in stone? as
Well, reading the contract,
I did.
you know, it says that your FFA chapter, now the one thing that I would like to see on there, it says FFA chapter, but I would like to see it more available for our CTE programs or ours. For $10,000, I think if we wanna use the facility,
Yeah.
we can. That would kind of be like, to me, saying, with the rec department and our intergovernmental agreements there, but you can only have 8U basketball at our gyms, okay? And not 9 or 10U.
Yeah.
So I would like to see it more available to all of our kids, not just our FFA chapters.
Sure.
Well, but to explain my question a little bit more, you know, if all the school systems have an event planned on the same day, who gets to use it? Where is that
Yeah.
written?
Who's gonna make that call?
Well, most of your ag deals are joint events. It's not just a Jackson County. It's not
All of
just a
them or
Jer-
most of them?
99% of them.
Okay.
So,
That are
so
big.
Jackson,
Yeah.
both county schools and then Jefferson and Commerce,
Yeah.
it would be
Yeah.
one big, they'd have one big cow show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or livestock event or something.
Yeah, and then if you're gonna have a county show, you, just like what Jefferson does, we have our county show, and then, which is, we make sure it's everybody, it's Jefferson, Commerce, Jackson County, East Jackson. And then afterwards, Jefferson will have their own deal after that, so
Okay.
that way it's all on the same weekend, so. Shouldn't be a whole lot of scheduling conflict there. Our ag teachers, one thing we really do good together in this county is our ag teachers work good together. They schedule together, they plan together, you know, most time everybody knows what's going on.
So if we're using the facility all the same, then why are we paying more?
FTE, we have.
I understand that, but so our kids are gonna disrupt the sawdust more? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me, really. I mean, if we're all using it the same amount, I don't care how many people you put in the building, you're using it just like we're using it.
Well,
So why are we paying more?
we will have the majority of the kids using the building.
I don't think you understand my question. They're gonna be there when we're there.
Absolutely.
So why, if they're using it, we're using it, why are we paying more?
I guess they're saying there's gonna be 10 county kids and 2 kids from Jefferson and 1 from Commerce.
So our kids are gonna be destroying property, I mean.
No.
We're not gonna, we won't be messing it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't be.
Using it,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I like what
And
Ms. Wheeler's saying. about-
Commerce is really getting their ag program back going. But I would say that the Jackson County, the East Jackson, and Jackson County High School programs would probably use that facility more than Commerce or Jefferson. You know, you can use that, not only is it for livestock, but you have so many other opportunities for regional events that we don't have a place for.
Yeah.
So,
So is Kevin Poe gonna be the grand referee in all of this?
Well, he and I have talked about that, and I think they're kind of building the plane as they're, you know, starting to fly, because the facility's not built yet. Kevin did say, though, that he would be, most of it, I think, would be maintained by trustee labor, but then they will have to hire someone to oversee the property. So this would primarily be the equivalent, I suppose, of an events kind of coordinator and person who oversees the cleanup. So this is all we've gotten, and which is, you know, I certainly support a partnership with the Board of Commissioners and want that to be the case.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if there's a need for clarity or more guidance, then we can table this and wait till we have our meeting in September and have a conversation, or we can, I mean, it is completely a board decision.
Well, and I'd be
That
happy
sounds
to
good
do
to
that,
me.
for us to have the conversation with them.
Yeah, have a conversation and
Yeah.
just hear what, and I agree with you 100%. I do think
Yeah.
that we need the facility, and I think our kids will benefit, really
well, which
benefit.
facility would have come along 10 years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So what I think I hear you saying is that we'll leave this on the agenda for our meeting after we have met with them in terms of planning, and I can get some greater clarification.
Yeah.
All right, well, I believe that's all the items that we had to discuss, and we can
Okay.
take a short break, I think, Ms. Wheeler. and
Okay, yes,
we'll
yes, why don't we do
transition into the
that?
Official
and-
board meeting.
Yeah, and then we'll come back and, you know, it's almost 8 o'clock, so we will take a little break and then come back.
Restroom break, 30 seconds.
All right, okay, we are back in session and we're gonna call our July board meeting to order. And since we have just had our work session, I don't know that we have any further discussion. Any board members have any other questions or statements that you would like to make? All right, since we have already, during our work session, we did already approve recommendation 1. So at this time, using our consent agenda, we would like to approve items 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9. We're going to table number 6, which was the selection of the architect for the East Jackson Middle School project, and take care of that at a later date. All right, is that completely clear to everyone? All right, okay, I need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, well, that was
Motion to
short.
adjourn.
That was short and sweet, okay. Thanks for coming, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.